Part 2 about the girl who was obsessed with me.
Storytime about my abusive ex-husband.
Storytime about how I found out that my mom f***ed my boyfriend.
Hey, I was thinking maybe one day we could go on a date or something. Let me know if you're down.
Part 2 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, she basically told me that those were her nudes, even though I took the pictures and I knew they were mine. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna argue with her. Well, then I get a text from my boyfriend, and he goes, "What the fuck, you're so weird, why would you send me somebody else's nudes?" And I'm just sitting there like, what the f***? And I tried to explain to him that I had no f***ing clue why this girl was saying they were hers. But then he said that I was weird as f*** and he broke up with me. So like a week later, I see them walking around school together. And my friends tell me that they're now dating. And I really wasn't that mad about it. I was like, okay, maybe that's the only way that she could think of to get a boyfriend. Well, I forgot that my Instagram was logged in on his phone because he had super bad trust issues and wanted to make sure I wasn't cheating on him. So I text him and I'm like, hey, can you take my Instagram off your phone? And I saw that he read my text message, but I got no response. Well, a week later, you guys are never gonna guess what happened, like for part 3. Part 3 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, I texted him and I got no response back. So I run into him the next day at school. And I'm like, hey, did you get my text? And he's like, text about what? And I was like, taking my Instagram off your phone? And he was like, oh yeah, Addie did it, don't worry. And I didn't think anything of it because, I'm like, oh well, she's done torturing me. Well, I was very wrong. So in my first period, I went to go sit with my group of friends, because all 3 of us had that class together. And when I walk in, I realized that Addie is sitting in my seat. So I pull up a chair to the table, and they were all ignoring me and texting each other right next to me. So I was like, okay, what's wrong? And one of my friends goes, oh, nothing, just the fact that you DM'd Gigi and I's boyfriends, saying that we were and that they should date you. By the way, Gigi was my other friend. And after that, this bitch Addie has the nerve to make the comment, that's really up. Why would you do that? So then I beat her ass and lost all my friends. Storytime about how I found out that my mom my boyfriend. So a little background information. My mom had me whenever she was 15. So we were always super close because we were so close in age. Well, during my senior year of high school, I started dating this guy. I was 18, he was 20. Well, after dating for a little bit, it was time for me to go off to college. And we didn't want to do long distance, so we kind of just cut it off. And instead of going to college, he just wanted to work, so he stayed in my hometown. And he was pretty close with my mom too, because during my school year, he got kicked out of his parents' house and came and stayed with us for like a month. And we're gonna call him Bryce. Well, I get a text from my mother the one day and she's like, hey honey, Bryce wants to know if he can come stay here. His parents kicked him out again. And I was like, no, that's weird. Like, we're not even dating. What the f? And her response was, well, honey, I'm a good person, so I'm not going to listen to what you say on this one. He's going to come stay with us. And I wasn't even living there at the time, and she was going to let him stay there, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my mom my boyfriend. So like I said, my mom was trying to be a good person, so she let Bryce stay there. Well, then COVID hit, and my college was basically like, yeah, you guys can't stay here anymore, go somewhere else. So I packed up my things and I went home. And she told Bryce that he couldn't stay there anymore because I didn't feel comfortable with it. As she should. Well, then she started acting really weird. Like, she would leave the house at 2 in the morning and wouldn't come back until like 8 in the morning. And the one night while she was making dinner, I saw a text from Bryce pop up on her phone. So I opened it and there were no text messages except one from Bryce saying, I won't, don't worry. But I didn't ask her about it because I trusted her. Well, the one night I was going to a party and I was in charge of bringing the alcohol. Well, on my way to the party, I realized I forgot the alcohol. So I pull up to my house and I see Bryce's truck outside. So I went around to the window and in the living room, I could see my mom and Bryce on the couch. I took a video, put it on Facebook, and after that, she was labeled a homewrecker in my small town. After that, I found out they had a whole relationship.
Hey, I was thinking maybe one day we could go on a date or something. Let me know if you're down.
Oh my god.
I had to take a taxi by myself. We're gonna call the driver. After I told Jazzy's mom that her husband was trying to get at me, she gives me a cup of water and she's like, drink it, you're probably so stressed out. Long story short, she put poison in the water. I wake up in the hospital with my parents around me, investigators, all of that ish. They're asking me a lot of questions about Jazzy, about the party, what was going on, like what was her dad telling you. Long story short, this whole investigation is going on Jazzy's family and their background, all of that stuff. This is the best part! So the investigators, you know, they find out that Jazzy's mom has a background on hurting and poisoning a lot of girls that her husband looks at and talks to. I don't really talk to Jazzy anymore. I don't really know what happened. All I do know is that they took Jazzy's mom to like a psych ward. I was talking to this guy and we went on a date to Six Flags. So we're at Six Flags, everything is so fun, so quirky. And then we decide to get on Tatsu. So basically at Six Flags, Tatsu has like 4 seats every row. So you basically sit next to like a random stranger sometimes. So we get on and then the boy that I'm talking to was like, oh, I don't want to sit next to the stranger. You have to sit next to her, I'm scared. And I was like, okay, like whatever, it's fine. So we're on the ride, right? This is the best part. Oh my god. The girl next to me, who is a stranger, starts spitting on me. She's literally like scratching me and like punching me. And so the ride finishes and I was like, what's your issue? So then the girl points at the guy that I'm talking to and she's like, that's my boyfriend. He's cheating on me right now. I was like, homeboy told me he was single. There were no pictures. He didn't tell me anything. Like, so then we left. After Benny was literally acting possessed while I was sleeping in his room, I went to go open the note that his parents left that was only for emergencies. And guess what it said? The note literally said, sorry for not telling you, run him a cold bath, and call 911 if anything happens. I didn't know what to do, so I just went to go wake up Benny. So when I woke Benny up, he was really, really mad, and he kept trying to put his hands in front of my eyes and was telling me, please be nice to them, open up. And so long story short, I ran Benny a cold bath and then he locked himself in the bathroom. So at this point, Benny has literally locked himself in the bathroom and he's literally yelling out loud, please take her, not me, I won't tell anyone. This is the best part. So I called the police because I was scared for my life at this point. And the note that his parents left said to do that. So the cops tried calling Benny's parents, but they couldn't get a hold of them, but they got a hold of the grandparents. And eventually his grandparents came. So his grandparents come and they're like, we're gonna take him to a priest. And they told me to leave.
Storytime about my abusive ex-husband. So I left home when I was 18 and married someone from my hometown. I knew him, but not personally close. We fell fast, and he proposed to me in the winter. And of course I said yes. My family didn't much care about me, so I jumped at the chance to leave home. So I got in his best friend's car, and we drove from Massachusetts to Louisiana. A couple months later, we tied the knot. No wedding, no dress, and nothing fancy. Just signed some papers, and that's it. So we moved into our first place on the base of Fort Polk, LA. A year went by and he was set to deploy. And as time got closer, he started getting further away from me. He didn't talk to me and he didn't open up to me at all. He told me people that are getting ready to deploy get closed off and have a hard time with feelings. And of course, I bought it. And I tried to understand, given I was completely alone. Come back for part 2. Storytime about my abusive ex-husband. So I was completely alone, no friends or family, and in the middle of nowhere with no license or a job. Basically, he started telling me he didn't want anything to do with me, and I was so confused. I left everybody to be with this man, and he would spend hours talking to other women from our hometown. He was giving these girls sob stories about how he was leaving for Afghanistan, and they bought it. So I'm in the middle of nowhere with no money, so I have no idea what to do. But flash forward, it's the day he deploys. I dress up, I make signs, the whole 9 yards, supporting my husband. We kiss, take pictures, and he leaves. Once he's there, he becomes nice and more loving. And of course, I fall for it because, well, my family never showed me love and used me as a babysitter. My father never cared for me, or my mother. Part 3. Storytime about my abusive ex-husband, Part 3. So yeah, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Anyways, he told me before he left that he wanted to save all the deployment money. So once he was gone, he wanted me to decorate our home and make it feel like a loving house. So I bought a couch, a bed, picture frames, and filled them with pictures of his other 2 kids that weren't mine. They were from 2 other different women. Red flag. They were under guardianship of his mother, as they were before we were married. And their mothers were back in our hometown. So he loved what I did, was very loving during deployment, never opened up about anything going on out there. But finally he comes home right before my birthday, and I went all out. Everything was great, and after deployment, they allow you to visit home for 2 weeks. Come back for part 4. Storytime about my abusive ex-husband. Part 4. So he got back from deployment just in time for my birthday, and we decided we would go to our hometown on my birthday. And years later, I found out he cheated on me that same day. So we fly back to LA, and I found out I was pregnant. And he decided to tell me he didn't want to be with me, and just because I was pregnant, that wouldn't change. So he started sleeping on the couch, and I got super depressed. And right before I give birth, I find him talking to other women, confronted him, and he decided to choke me up against the wall. And he kicked me out. So his mom bought me a plane ticket, and I flew home, 8 months pregnant. Gave birth to my child in the hospital alone. A few months go by, and he's controlling and constantly manipulating me. Come back for part 5.